You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the January 21st meeting of the Trail Creek Town Council. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the January meeting. If everybody can stand to join me in saying the pledge to open the meeting.
Wow.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you move the flag?
That messed me up.
I don't know, we gotta wait with it.
As we open the meeting, thank you to the two gentlemen who spent the time to update our technology within the council chambers. Makes a huge difference to have a live feed and some actual microphones on the table. So thank you for making that happen. On that note, we will move on to approval of the minutes from the December meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes and make any corrections? And if you have any, you can listen to those now. Also, any questions or discussion?
Make a motion.
We've got a motion to approve the minutes from December of 2024.
I'll second.
And a second. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to the fund report. Should be the next in your packet. Crystal, is there anything specific that we should look at here?
No, everything's pretty basic for the end of the year.
Okay.
I see the lit public safety has a positive balance current now.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the fund report? Hearing none. Do we have a motion to approve the fund report?
I move to approve the fund report for.
I'll second it.
Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, that motion carries. Moving on to payment of the bills.
Bill, for this, the receipts and all that, is that part of this or part of the January?
It looks like some of it's in there.
We'll get to that. We have a section just for,
Just that, okay.
yeah, but part of it is here and part of it is in
Is that-
January.
Okay,
Okay.
I move to approve payment of the bills for December 2024.
Do we have a second?
second,
Any further discussion or any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
This as well. Fantastic. Any correspondence this month?
No.
Moving on then to reports. Do we have anything from Shem for MS4? I've not seen anything come through.
Okay,
Okay. And then for your report, Mr. Willoughby.
I don't have anything to update other than Dan landscaping, we're still having discussions.
Okay. So still in
We've had good
discussion.
discussions, but still discussing.
Okay.
Okay. Then moving on to our town engineer.
That would be me.
Hi, Ken.
Good evening. I hope that everybody has a copy of this letter that Crystal put out with the agenda and everything. We need to get this signed and then scan it and send it to Sam, copy me on it. This will be the part of the submittal that we have to make to NDOT for the CCMG 25 application, which needs to be in by January 31st, but we hope to get it in before Friday, the 24th. And that way we have time to check everything over, make sure everything is in order, and get it to them. And we don't want to be the last one in the queue line for their grant approvals. So we get this done, and I think I asked the chief Dick through Crystal if we could get a list of accidents, injuries, fatalities, property damage along all the CCMG projects sites.
I just need to know where at and as of what dates. That's the only thing I know.
For the last 3 years. And we sent along with the letter, this estimate sheet. It has the street names and from where to where.
Okay. So anything that falls in that, I just need to list that list.
Yeah.
I think I have it.
I think you got it?
Thank you.
Good. As long as we can get it like before Friday, so we can include it in our package to send down to NDOT, then that would be wonderful if we could do that.
There might be Friday, because I'm off the next two, but I might be able to get to it off over the next 2 days. We'll see.
Okay.
Just have to log in and go through.
Yeah, I'm not sure how heavy your traffic reports are,
Wonderful.
but for the last 3 years, if we can have this through that time period. Thank you, appreciate that. That's my report.
That was much quicker than I expected, thank you.
I can make it longer.
I'm okay with that, thank you. Anything for the park department this evening?
They're having a meeting on they're having a meeting on Thursday night. All right?
So here on Thursday.
Yes, at 5:30.
Okay. Our building inspector is not present with us this evening. Anything for planning and zoning? No. Okay. That brings up our police department.
Good evening, hello. Laura, as soon as the meeting's over, I'm gonna run over and get that key, because I won't be here before Thursday, so I wanna get it for you tonight.
Okay,
So I'll make sure you have it.
okay.
Real quick, you're all aware that we, as police officers, have to put in 24 hours a year in training. We had our training done last year, plenty of time, because we do start early, and Michigan City has gracefully invited us back this year to participate in their in-service. It's actually 4 days versus 2. Most of them are 6-7 hour days, so we're gonna get a lot more training up front as opposed to over the course of the year. Just giving you a heads up that, our training is up to date, and we continue to move forward with that. And that's really all I have for tonight. I just hadn't used the microphone.
You just want to use the new toy. Thank you. Thank you so much.
They don't want it on day.
Much appreciated. And thank you as always for your service and for that of your other officers. That brings up our street department.
I do not have much to report tonight. Everything, all the equipment that's not reported, all the equipment's up to date, working good right now. I think we're sitting in a pretty good spot there. I'm aware of, and we just wanted to ask him about it, but the stop sign at Greenwood and Johnson northbound, if you guys have seen, that's kind of leaning forward. I guess something hit that at some point. So we're gonna attack that tomorrow, get take care of, or at least have a temporary up there to take care of that. It's gonna be hard to do with the ground being frozen right now, but we'll be able to get temporary up there at least. And short of that, if you have questions, the CCMG thing is already gotten up everything, so that was the best I had.
Quite a project, so
Yeah.
thank you for your work on that.
Definitely share that with Dave.
Yeah.
We can express it between the both of us.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for all your work on that, because I know that's not an easy project to jump into.
That's interesting. I found
It really is.
Be an engineer.
Nah.
Salt is good?
The
supply is good?
We still have our orders to go. I haven't ordered a first batch yet. Trying to get to that stuff in the back and make some adjustments there first. It's been there before I was here.
Okay,
So we're
much
fine.
appreciated.
We're fine.
Okay, good, thank you. And moving on to NERC.
Whoops. There, I'm trying to slow it. In your packet, there should be a couple pages that, well, I provided. It just essentially was the agenda is one, and which kind of shows you what we talk about, we commissioners. And then the second page is, we also have an election, so a change of officers, and it shows you who was on that. So that's what we really went through. That's for you to review. That's all I got.
Thank you. That'll be an interesting thing to go through and have to take a look at what happens at NERC then.
And this was the quarterly meeting, so they also have monthly executive meetings that they kind of ask if I would like to attend, so
Are you ready to
might be doing that.
go? Okay, fantastic.
See how that goes.
Well, maybe if there's some other funding that we're not aware of, that you can find out about, that we can benefit from as a small town. Moving on to old business this evening. We have the audio visual from the ARP fund.
You want me to take over?
In your packet, you should have an appropriation detail history. It should have been your next item. So if you'll review that, and Crystal, I'm gonna hand the meeting over to you.
Thank you. So the first page is a printout of the total cost of what we used for the audio visual. So, great price there, so that's just the breakdown of all of it from December and January, just to let you guys know where we're exactly at. The next page on there is just showing what we have left to pay. So this here will be the door installment for that. And then on the last page, you'll see what the total was of what we have left in the American Rescue Fund minus the door installment, and then the total remaining is there. So I was trying to get that discussion, and then this will coordinate with the next
Okay.
whole business.
And so everything that's been paid out for the tech upgrade is, the total amount is all been paid out already?
Correct.
Okay, and do we owe anything else there? Are there any further, is
No,
everything finished there?
so once we decide, what we're gonna do with the next old business, we can always do an MOU if there is no remainder left, an amended one. And it's just a quick little add of a line of what we were going to do with the American Rescue money. So if we have anything left from that bill that we were like gonna discuss next, we can always amend that MOU for the American Rescue Fund, of whatever amount is left. But that is the current total remaining. And in our current MOU, it discussed to pay for old invoices.
Okay.
That being said,
Okay. That said, all of the audio visual still looks fantastic. So next up in old business is the Dan's landscaping invoice. And
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like we have an update on that, so,
I can't
okay.
make a final action on that.
So that, we'll have to table that again. So we have a motion to table the Dan's landscaping invoice to the February meeting. So I need a motion.
I'll move to table that until the February meeting.
Second.
So a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed, motion carries. So we'll table that to February. Next order of business is ordinance 1-2025 for the charge for garbage, refuse, and leaf removal. This will be the second reading. I don't think I need to read all the way through this, so,
But we need to conduct a public hearing, correct? So we need to make sure that you open public hearing and invite comments for and against as well.
okay. So at this time then, with ordinance 1-2025, we will open the public hearing. And hearing no comments from the public and seeing no other public in attendance. Do we have any public comment here? No. Okay, then I can close the public hearing with that. And I can ask for a motion upon reading here for the second reading of 1-2025, ordinance 1-2025.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Laura.
I'll second.
Thank you, Pete. Any further discussion among council members? The one nice change, I will make one comment, this does make is that we can do these buildings quarterly instead of having to pay the yearly amount all at one time. So it does make a nice change for our residents. So with that said, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That sounds unanimous to me. Motion carries. Moving on to new business, we do have the refuse bill adjustment request for 307 Leo Avenue. And with that, again, Crystal, I'll turn this back over to you.
There is a copy in your packet up next, and it is from an attorney for representing on the address 307 Leo. They explained in here some importance and also an amount that they feel this resident could catch up on so we could make some adjustments. I did my own math on this as well. And on the last of the bottom page, it comes up with the amount of $5,040 being paid in the next 36 months, totaling $140 each month.
And you feel it's fair and equitable with your math?
Yes.
So then we need a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
So you're making a motion to approve the adjustment for the refuse request at 307 Leo Ave? Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. It's unanimous. And resolution 1-2025 for stale bid checks. Crystal, I'll let you take this one again.
Okay. This on, if you look on page 3, this is the breakdown of the stale checks that we've had dated from 2022. And if you see there, we had 3 checks that were stale for the Department of Transportation for $23,875.26, which would go back into the general fund. And the second one would have been for a Cableman's Ace Hardware for a repair part. That would also with NIPSCO and street lighting, both of those totaling the amount of $1,466.90, which would go back into the MVH fund.
Okay.
So a total of $25,342.16 of stale checks.
And stale checks then would be unpaid for a period of 2 years or more, and they would therefore be voided by the town for this resolution. So we're looking for a motion to approve Resolution 1-2025.
I'll move to approve resolution number 1-2025.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Next up, we have ordinance number 2-2025, and this would be the first reading of this ordinance, I do believe. And this would be an ordinance amending the restating of Article 4, Division 2, establishing of the Parks and Recreation, repealing all conflicting ordinances. And this is the first time I've seen this one, so Chris or Laurel, do you want to take this one?
But you just want to read it? Or it basically, since we can't find the original creation of the Parks and Recs, this creates a new one and repeals any ordinances that were outstanding.
Okay.
And that's it's basically the same thing. We found it one that was outdated from the state. It's basically this, but Chris prettied it up so it will pass the grant inspection. So
Okay.
Just to add to that a little bit, so it started with Parks Department trying to obtain funds, and the gatekeeper of funds downstate that had some opinions as to what should or shouldn't be in the code. And as Laura and I have talked several times, it really doesn't matter what we think in terms of whether the code is sufficient or isn't. He's the gatekeeper for that. And as Laura and the Park Department, our Park Board were looking into things, there's an old ordinance, and then the last time that the ordinance or the town code was rewritten in approximately, I think, 1981, it seems that the intention was to adopt the Indiana code sections by reference. There is established a Park Department, but there's no detail there, and quite honestly, the person downstate doesn't like it, and it should be a little more detailed for your purposes. The only thing that I would encourage you to do, if you're inclined to pass it on first reading and prior to final passage on second, is to understand the powers that the Park Board have under the state code and making sure that those mesh and apply to your town. Because a lot of times what happens, even the previous code, probably doesn't happen so much modern day, is you have services that came in and give you canned codes that don't necessarily apply to your community. So, and I can give you the Indiana code, which delineates, the individual powers so you can see. So we try to keep it simple while meeting the requirements that the Park Board needs to move forward this grant. But time is of the essence, so that's why, not to speak for Laura, but it was important to get this at least on first reading. They've been working on this for months, but April is the deadline, and one, she likes to have things done ahead of time, rightfully so, and two, just in case something happens and we didn't have a unanimous vote in February, but it'd be nice to pass this so that they have plenty of time to finish up their grant writing.
I guess my only question that I see is how do we, I see that each new appointment is made by the council or by myself as the sitting president for right now. As each term expires, how do we assign the terms for one member? Is he for 1 year, one for 2 years, one for 3 years, one for 4?
We'll select that, and I can give you some suggestions on that, but essentially what you have, we need to make sure that it complies with the code by party and or the waiver exceptions that are allowed. And I believe you've done that in the past of waiving that
We have.
requirement, but you may have to revamp or reappoint your current board, which is okay. It'll just start their terms. And no matter what, even current code and the way that the new one would be, they continue to serve in that role until you have replacements anyway.
Okay.
because the current code has the same language, the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and 4 year. We've never
Interesting, because
Yes.
we've never,
done
Okay.
that.
Well, and let's back up. That's for the first, so that they were staggered, so that you always had members. So then after they get another term, that position's filled, it's a 4-year term. So that's when you're starting a new board, is where
Okay.
that staggering comes in.
Okay.
okay. So that wouldn't necessarily apply now, this would just be,
Yeah, I think you
Annual
can take a vote and
reappointments.
leave it as it is if you have current members that would carry on.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that I was clearly understanding that before we voted. Okay,
So I had a question too. You say basically this ordinance was put together based upon the gatekeeping that's going on downstate for this. What's the potential that the next person who sits in that seat would maybe want a different type of ordinance?
So just to be clear, when I say his gatekeeping, what he's referring to is having a town ordinance that matches the code. So it would be the same
Okay.
regardless. I think that as he reviewed, and I don't want to speak for him, but
Understand.
some of the correspondence, and it isn't clear. If you look at the current code that I think again was 1981, it just makes a reference to state code and says a Parks and Recreation Department is established. That's it. And again, I think the intention was by reference, and then you incorporate, probably could have a little more language, and then other places in the code, it will say, you know, it adopts or incorporates the Indiana code by reference and as amended. This just makes it clear. So it's really taking those sections and putting them in your actual code, but it will match. He's not creating anything
Okay.
or binding you to anything more than you otherwise do. I do think you have some ability to select or choose what powers you want to grant the board in there, which again, that's your decision, but it's all pretty standard.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
okay. And you said we can waive the requirement to have a second reading on this. We can pass this on first reading?
If you have unanimous choice, in it, I would encourage you to review and make sure that it says what you want to say. And not to frustrate
I'm
the
good.
process
No.
for Laura, but I think it's important to, at the latest, approve it in February.
Okay.
But I think it's important that you guys understand the powers that you're giving. But you could pass it, again, if you have a unanimous consent to suspend the rules and suspend and do both readings in one night.
So what happens if somebody is missing next month?
It doesn't,
Oh, it doesn't
that's why
matter. Okay,
having
okay,
two readings,
okay,
you won't need a unanimous.
okay.
Comments? Would you prefer to do this next one? The first and second reading?
I would like to,
Dispose.
I think that's probably
Yeah.
best. That gives us a little time to digest everything.
Could I
Yes, you
make a
may.
suggestion?
Yes, you
My
may.
recommendation would be that you approve it on first reading, because you're not obligated to pass it on second reading, and that way you're not binding yourself that something happens if you don't have a unanimous group. And again, I only reiterate that for the timing of those that are writing that application, because
Understood.
not that you're bound, but they've been doing it a few months and would like to submit it, so they're not last
Understood and
minute queue.
appreciated.
I'm good with that too.
So we can approve and then pass next month, is what you're saying. Repeat what you just said.
I would recommend you approve it on first reading tonight only, and then consider the second one next month for final passage.
That's, yes, okay. So then the motion stands for this evening to approve ordinance 2-2025 this evening, with final passage to be based upon second reading next month.
Make a motion.
Okay, and second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on. So we are now down to appointments for 2025. And I will ask if anyone would like to make a nomination for council president.
I move to nominate Jennifer Heath as council president.
Make a motion. Second.
So we've got a motion and a second, and I'll accept the nomination. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Did
you.
we ask you?
We did not ask me, but thank you. I'll be honored to serve once again. We'll now open the floor for nominations for vice president, and I will nominate Peter Pizarnik as vice president for the council. Any other nominations? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve Peter Pizarnik as vice president for the council? We've got a motion. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. So we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to the park board liaison. Laura, would you like to stay in that position?
I would love to. I like working that.
So we need a motion to approve Laura as our park board liaison.
Good motion?
So we've got a motion and a second.
A second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to our police liaison. If no one else minds, I would like to take that position back.
That's fine.
Okay. So we have a
make a-
motion for that.
Laura,
I'll make a motion for it.
Thank you, Laura. And a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And Pete, would you mind staying with planning and zoning?
Sure, I'll stay with planning and zoning.
Okay. And we don't need a motion for that.
If no one else wants to,
Or Brian, unless you want to.
right.
No, thank you.
I want to get my feet wet first.
Yeah,
So
you
we'll
should
need a
be-
motion to.
I'll make a motion to have Pete do it,
Okay,
the zoning.
thank you. So we've got a motion and a second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'd like to leave Warren as our NERC liaison.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Pete. And a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any public comment this evening? Hearing none, move on to the clerk's office comments.
This would be for you, Pete. We did call everybody on that list for the zoning board.
Yes.
The only person that's number is still active would be Lewandowski.
Okay.
We are gonna need to put some type of, board together. I'm not sure if you handle that, if I handle that, or how we post, or if Mr. Lewandowski.
Was he still wanting to be active on the board?
We talked to him several months ago, and he was like he was still
Okay.
interested. We did not get a hold of him this last phone call. But most of those numbers are no longer even in service.
Okay.
But we do have some things that need
Have you sent
approved
letters to
for.
them?
We have not sent letters, no. Some of these people don't even live in Trail Creek anymore.
Right.
So, there's gonna be, even if we did, there was only Mr. Lewandowski and one other that currently resides still in Trail Creek.
Okay,
So we still will have some, seats available on that.
okay.
Well, I think there were 3 seats.
We had 4.
4. Okay.
Okay.
So 3
I
seats
don't know
are
how
open.
many actually seats are there, but we only had 4 people on the list. I don't know if there was 5 and they just didn't fill it, or, I'm not sure.
Okay.
So I was just bringing that up because, you had asked at the last
Yes,
meeting to look
yes.
into that, and we did, and that's what we came up with, so.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for checking that. Any comments from the council members?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention and thanks for getting our audio video together. We are running right now parallel with a web page, or I'm sorry, a Zoom page. And we have one individual listening as I'm speaking, and we're testing that out. We will be getting it advertised on, I guess it's called social media, how to get to the Zoom. And then we'll determine if we're going to be, how long we're going to be continuing running parallel systems with the Alco. But this is a dry run. It sounds like it's doing pretty good so far. But I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
And Warren, I wanted to thank you for getting this all put together and getting it installed and doing everything that you did to make it happen. Thank
Team
you.
effort.
Thank you.
Good team.
Coordination is
Thanks.
amazing, the installation is fantastic. You guys did a great job. So,
Need a clock.
I'm working on that. I'm working on that. Aren't you glad we didn't go with the size I wanted to, but I never put it up there?
Yeah. Okay. And with that, hearing no other council comments, I will ask for a motion.
I move to adjourn.
7:34.
It's 7:34.
All in
Do we have
favor?
a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Have a great evening, everybody.
I think that is a record. I really do.